Well, welcome to the Alumni Q&A information session for the online Masters in Data Science here at the University of Notre Dame. I'm Roger Woodard. I'm the director of the Online Masters, and I'm here tonight with several of our alumni. And we're going to take a minute to have each one of them to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about when they graduated and where they are now. And then we will go through a set of questions that we have for them. And then at the end, we'll save some time for questions that you might have. So as we're getting ready for that, I do want to ask that if you do have questions this evening, please use the Q&A button in Zoom. So you'll see there's a button that says Q&A. That will put your question in a queue for us, and we'll answer them as we get to them. That's a little bit more efficient than trying to use the chat. The chat tends to lose questions, and we tend to miss them. So please do put your questions in the Q&A button rather than in the chat. So before we get into that, I do want to take a minute just to ask each of our alums to introduce themselves. So maybe Nicole, could we start with you?
Sure, Roger. Hey, everyone. My name is Nicole McAlee. I am a graduate of the data science program in the class of 2024. I live in Philadelphia, and I'm a data scientist at Wells Fargo.
Megan, how about you next?
Hi, my name is Megan Hammond. I am also a 2024 grad, and I currently work in artificial intelligence product strategy at Google.
Maggie, how about you?
Yes, hi, I'm Maggie Rose, and I graduated in 2021, and I work as a technical project manager on the applied AI team at MasterCard.
Excellent. And last but not least, Matt.
Good evening. My name is Matt Gallant. I work for AT&T. I graduated the program in 2025, so a recent graduate from that. And I actually still are in my role right now, but we're applying more generative AI as well as predictive AI or predictive analysis to those AI models inside of the org that I'm currently in.
Excellent. I also have with me tonight Courtney Mayfield and Sam Adamczewski. They are our staff, and they are also here to maybe answer a few questions if something comes up that the rest of us don't know. So again, if you do have questions, please use the Q&A button. I will start off with just a little bit of background. If you're on this call, you probably know most of what I'll say here, but the Online Masters in Data Science here at Notre Dame is a 21-month program. It is just like any other masters that we offer here at Notre Dame. It is at least 30 credits. It is unlike most of the other masters here at Notre Dame in that it's fully online. So you can do this from anywhere in the United States. It is something where we really try to uphold the same high academic standards as other programs here at Notre Dame. It is a program that has been around since 2017. When we created it, we went out and talked to a lot of our corporate partners and said, what do you need someone to know who has a degree in data science? And they told us a lot of things about the technical side, but they also told us things like, well, we need good communication skills because it doesn't help to create a great model if you can't communicate it out to the decision makers. They also said we want to have the ethical side covered because we want to know not just what can you do with data, but what should you do. We, in the last few years, as you've probably heard the job descriptions from our alums, in the last few years, AI has taken over a whole lot of what we do. And as a result, we have spent a lot of time here as faculty updating the curricula to include a lot more of that. So we quite literally put things into the courses within months of when they were released publicly. So it's something that is rapidly changing. It's something that has kept me up late nights over the last couple of semesters. So AI is definitely something that we include in our program, and it's definitely something that is making a big difference in the careers of our alumni. So with that gives us kind of the brief overview. We'll go ahead and jump right into the questions for our alums. We've asked each of you to tell us a little bit about yourself, so I can jump past that one and start with why Notre Dame? Maybe we'll kind of go in reverse order. Matt, would you like to tell us why you chose the Notre Dame program?
Absolutely. So I chose Notre Dame because I wanted a technical foundation that was rigorous as well as ethical, from that perspective. And I was in a unique alignment because not only did my company offer tuition reimbursement, but they actually had a hand in doing a little bit of the program development and working with Notre Dame. And that partnership kind of not sealed me, but signaled me into the saying that the ND curriculum was a good, if not excellent, gold standard for solving high stake, even more complex data challenges that we face in the telecom. So, and obviously in our industry, we're more trapped in messy legacy systems, and make an attempt to take scientific assets or take scientific stances on that data is really, really a challenge from that perspective. So the company joining up with AT&T, or sorry, AT&T joining up with Notre Dame, signaled to me that that was a way to go. And I wanted to, I'll say the Notre Dame pedigree because it represents a force of good. And to me, building that architecture and trying to ensure that we aren't going just too fast, but mathematically sound and ethical and being transparent is really what I wanted to do. So really, that force of good will always be my primary drive going forward from now on. I'll tell you that for sure. And whether I'm either standing up a project within the company or working in parallel or looking towards the future, being a domer is the most powerful thing that I think we can do, is to bring those stories that data actually has, then we can showcase from that perspective. So that commitment to excellence is also a constant thing that I try to bring. And I think Notre Dame instills that through this program.
Well said. Thank you. Megan, maybe we'll go to you next. Why did
Sure.
you choose Notre Dame?
I think similar to Matt, I think the ethics and the force for good was certainly at the forefront for me as well. I think, there's not another program I found out like there that really at the heart and center of the curriculum and not sort of maybe perhaps, sprinkled in here and there. And I think that was very important to me. I think one of the other pieces related to the curriculum that stood out to me was that, Notre Dame is really great at balancing sort of breadth and depth. You have a lot of exposure to a number of different things, but it doesn't feel like you're just sort of, washing over them. You feel like you can go deep enough to get an understanding. And for me, I really wanted to deepen a technical understanding. I wasn't necessarily, joining this to become a superstar in one specific programming language. I wanted to, explore my curiosity, build technical acumen, and really bolster my ability to solve complex problems. And I felt like the curriculum really lends itself well if you're looking to kind of gain that area of expertise, ask difficult questions, strengthen your toolkit of how you can solve different complex challenges. So I think that was a key piece, as well as I'll say, the faculty and staff, even from the beginning, just the engagement, the support from them, really incredible group of people that I think made this feel like, I know grad school can sometimes feel like an overwhelming decision of, is it the right time? How am I going to fit this in my schedule? But I think everyone was so supportive that I think it helped sort of bolster that decision as well.
Thanks. Maggie, how about you?
Yeah, so one of the biggest reasons for why I chose Notre Dame was I liked that everyone had to be a working adult. Because what ended up happening often was we would face problems real time at work, and we were able to bring them to class. And we were then able to say, in this situation, how would you handle this? Or how should we think about approaching this? And we could get perspectives from so many different teachers. And I thought that was really unique to a lot of other programs that I looked at, where I would have to stop working and then try to join, come back into the workforce. And I didn't want to do that. And so having this availability of being able to keep working, stay in the program, and be in a program that's, is well known and incredible as Notre Dame was just a huge plus all around. And something that Megan touched on too is when you look at the curriculum, there was such a great spread of all the different coding languages and all the different types of classes you were taking. And that was really unique compared to other programs because some of them were very streamlined on very specific items. And I found that I didn't necessarily know if I wanted to be a full-time data scientist when I got out of the program. And so the spread of these classes has allowed me to enter into a lot of different options in AI, in tech, or an analyst as a data scientist. So it really offered a much wider variety of possibilities once you graduate.
Excellent. And Nicole, what about you?
Yeah, sure. So I would echo everything that everyone else said and just add a few things. I think one thing for me was the size of the program and knowing that it was going to be really high support. Tons of FaceTime with faculty, tons of projects where you're working with classmates. I feel like I really got to know everyone really well, despite the fact that we saw each other maybe once or twice a year or like in person only at graduation. That was huge. And having a support network through like, a 30-month like grind was really, really important. I would also say that I think the program strikes a really nice balance between mathematical and statistical concepts, computer concepts, communications, data engineering. I think Maggie kind of said this, but you're kind of exposed to the full stack of like a data science career. And I like find in my own career that I do a little bit of all of that, like all the time. So it was really great to get kind of a wide view. Whereas I have some colleagues who went to great programs also, but that were hyper focused on like AI or data engineering and just don't have as much of a breadth of knowledge in different areas. So I think that was really great. And then I'll add very selfishly, I went to Notre Dame for my bachelor's. So the opportunity to be a double domer was like irresistible and totally worth it.
So, yeah. So if you are not aware, people who graduate from the University of Notre Dame are referred to as domers in regard to our golden dome that is on our main building. So another point that Nicole made there, the program, we keep it intentionally small. So we really do limit the number of people that can be in the program to less than 48 in any incoming class. So that's one of the things that we really try to make sure that, as Nicole said, all the faculty know everybody, all the students know each other, and to the point Maggie made, you've got people that you can talk to and say, oh yeah, I don't know how to deal with this problem at work, and maybe get some advice from other people that are facing similar problems at different companies. But it's also there to help you with your homework and to help you with the things you're doing in class, so that you want everybody to be able to help everybody out. And that's one of the things we really try hard to make sure it's available as part of this program. Let's see. The next question. How did this program impact your life or career? So who would like to go first on that one? Does anyone feel like it made a big difference in your career track?
Yeah,
I talk too much, so after you, Maggie.
Yeah, I was going to say I can go ahead and kick off with this one. So with studying at Notre Dame and having the spread of classes, what I was able to do is I actually work at MasterCard. I'm a technical project manager. I work on a team of data scientists. And actually what I do is I do all of the technical paperwork. I work with governance. I work with legal. I work with privacy to make sure that what we are building is allowed from both our internal rules and also, laws, bylaws, having to follow laws in other countries as well. And so what I've been able to do with my degree is, as I spend a lot of time explaining to people what we've built and how it works and what a neural network is and why we chose this over something else and how we're following these policies. And that's something that Roger touched on is we can explain why we're doing it while also in this program. We're not just focused on making sure you can execute this code. You need to explain why you've chosen what you've chosen. And so that has been huge in my career, because without that, I wouldn't be able to fill out any of this governance. I wouldn't really be able to have this job without being able to explain everything that we're doing. And then also break it down to leadership and explain to leadership why what we're doing takes a long time, or why we're able to get stuff done faster and how we could have better approaches, and really just breaking down the why of data science. So that's really what my whole career is centered around.
And you've actually taken new positions since you graduated, right? Is that correct?
Yes. So actually, when I first graduated, I did work as a data scientist, and then I took on a role as a TPM, and then I actually just got promoted again. But I'm still a TPM, a technical project manager. But I actually just got promoted again this year, which I like to credit towards my degree, to be honest, because I'm able to explain all of these things that our team is building. So yes.
Okay. Matt, were you going to say something there as well?
Yes, sir. Just to add a little bit onto that too, you're always looking for technical growth, and I found something much more transformative in this. It was a purpose, and it was a global network too. So not only did the program give me a credential, but it also gave me a new lens in which I can view my industry the way it is, but also going forward where we can go. One of the things that, I mentioned that force of good. One of the things that this did too was it connected me to a vibrant community. And I think, Roger, you touched on it. It's that community consists of faculty, it consists of alumni, peers. So the program actually replaced not just a career path, but it gave me a lifelong support system and an unwavering ethical compass. So I'm set on a new path, and this program set me on that right track. So
Excellent. Excellent. Nicole or Megan, did you guys want to add anything to that, or?
I can just chime in really quickly and say, prior to this, I actually was working for the university in like a program manager role, so a very non-technical role, which was an amazing experience and gave me tons of skills that I think, enhanced my career as a data scientist. But to me, like the proof is in the pudding, in that I was able to transition into a technical role as a data scientist at like a Fortune 50 company. So I feel like in that way, this program really set me up for success. And of course, like going into any new career is like intimidating, and like you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but like felt like the transition was really good. And then I was really well prepared for that kind of like fast-paced move. So that was what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say similar to Nicole, my career was very different prior to then the current role that I hold. So I did work at Google prior to enrolling in the program, but I was an advertising consultant. So I worked with companies to essentially get them to adopt different Google Ads products. And some of that was analytical work, but it was not the main focus of my role. It was more of a consulting role. So I think similarly, this program gave me that different toolkit, that technical acumen to be able to combine my sales and consulting knowledge. And so my role today really built on that. So I have a fairly interesting role. It's fairly similar to a technical program manager where it's very interdisciplinary. I'm working at the intersection of data science, product management, engineering, and sales. And so I felt like this program did a really great job, not just helping me feel confident in pivoting, but figuring out where I could leverage the skills I already had and build on top of that to really have this well-balanced sense of understanding, and not just say, hey, like, let's throw that away. I think it was really great at helping me harness what I was good at and understanding where I had opportunities to develop and fusing the two together in a way that enabled me to land my current role.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I think we've got a question in the Q&A that kind of builds on that. And I think this is for Megan and Nicole. What drew you to data science from advertising/program management, if it was that direct? So what brought you into data? What made you think of data science as from where you were?
I can start. So I happen to work in Google Ads, and so I spent a lot of time actually in the Google Ads interface, like analyzing account performance of, campaigns fluctuating, how different bid strategies are performing, different creative optimization ahead of like prepping for calls. And while the bulk of my role really is designed as like this consulting role where most of your time is spent managing these relationships, I kept finding myself being like, like I'm getting way more energy from spending heads down time in the account or finding that silver bullet insight or looking at data differently and framing it to an advertising client that maybe no one had told them. And I stumbled upon something that really was an unlock for their business. And so for me personally, I just became very curious in the data. Google Ads, for those who are not familiar, uses a lot of machine learning and has for years, even prior to sort of this AI wave. And so I became very fascinated about the mechanics of machine learning. I wanted to understand the ins and outs very technically. And so I remember being at work, sort of reading a lot of engineering documents when I was working in consulting, which was a little odd. And that was sort of where I was like, you know what, I really want to dive into this, and felt like data science was a good fit to sort of accumulate that knowledge.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah, and I would say my background is actually like rooted in technology. Even before this, I studied information systems in undergrad, and my first career out of school was working as a technology auditor, where I was working with code, not really writing code, but reading it, understanding, for instance, how companies set up their SAP environments and things like that. When I transitioned to my role at Notre Dame, where I was in program management, I worked for the Notre Dame IBM Technology Ethics Lab, which is kind of this like sits at an intersection of like a policy shop and engineering and philosophy, thinking about like how technology kind of functions in our world and our workplace. And so I was doing all of this like project management and events and talking to experts and like all these things, which were really cool. But I felt sort of divorced from like the practice of technology, which I had been doing in my previous career. So I kind of had like an itch to get back into the data and like get a big spreadsheet and make sense of it. And so I had met Roger and Sam through my work and kind of like had a light bulb moment a couple days later. I was like, I could maybe apply for that program and see what happens. So I would say like, yeah, that was kind of how I got there. And I think overall, like, I think I'm just curious about information and how things work and why things are as they are. And data science gives us a way to like to do that, to investigate that in like a rigorous way. And I think that was something that really interested me. So even if I had not transitioned to a career in data science, I think like that would have been really valuable knowledge for me. So that's kind of what drew me to it. And I've been like really glad every day since then because I like love this job and it's awesome.
I'm glad to hear that. Okay, so that question came in through the Q&A, and if anyone in our audience has additional questions, again, put them into the Q&A. I know we've got more of them kind of queued up here, but we'll take them kind of as we go along, and I'll try to keep an eye on that as we do. So now back a little bit more towards the program itself and going through it. How did you balance your time while you were in the program? So you were all working professionals, you had full-time day jobs. How did you do that and do this and do all the other things in your life that you have to do? So anybody want to take that one?
I'm not one to have crickets, but I'll go ahead. I talk too much, so I apologize on that. For me, I mean, I'm not any spring chicken from what you can see. So stepping back into the rigors of academia and graduating 30 years in 4 days from the day that I got my undergrad was quite a challenge. So the first semester was really that reality check, right? It was more than just time management, but it was life integration. And when I say that, I had to acknowledge early on that this wasn't just going to be a sacrifice, not just for me, but honestly for my family and for my peers. So, and to manage that load, I did, we had funny little things like deep work sessions. We would say these certain times, like my daughter, she'd be like, well, dad's got to go off and do his study. And I'd be like, you're coming with me to study with me. So she'd be doing her schoolwork and I'll be doing mine. But I think the secret to my success wasn't just a calendar-based system or anything like that. It was actually that unwavering support system. So I built it around me, and it consisted of family, friends, professional peers. Everyone stepped up in the space that I created. But most importantly, what I realized is at Notre Dame, you never struggle alone. So when that learning curve felt steep, the faculty was right there. They were able to bridge and help us out. When I say help us out too, we had cohort. The cohort became my second family. So we learned from each other's strengths and everything like that. So I'll say it was a challenge at first, but it was something that I came into and I actually loved. And I'll even say it now too. I'd go back and do the whole course again. So that's my mentality with regards to that. So it was really a a support system that helped get me through it.
Anybody else want to add to that?
I can jump in just with a few things that worked for me. And I know that others have said this in other information sessions, and I feel like this was kind of a common consensus among classmates. But a few things that I found really helpful is one, getting started on the work as soon as it's assigned, like not procrastinating. Procrastination is your like ultimate enemy in this program because it's extremely, extremely rigorous. And this happened to me, like you won't know when you'll get a flat tire. And like the Wednesday night you set aside to submit your homework before midnight is like suddenly not available to you. So like getting started on stuff as soon as I could was really helpful for me. At the time, I was also traveling a lot and I like always had my computer. If I had 10 or 15 minutes, that was enough time to like watch a lecture, take some notes, open R, like do a little work. So taking advantage of like every kind of spare minute that you can find, but the flip side of that being like I really tried to reserve at least one day a week where I was not doing schoolwork. So a lot of times for me, like I would try to have all of my work done on Tuesday for like a Wednesday night submission deadline and have Wednesday be like a free night where I like didn't do schoolwork. Maybe I like talked to a friend, maybe I like made a nice dinner. So I would say like using as much, using the time that you have to your advantage, but also not like not taking any time for yourself. Like you will totally burn out if you don't take time. And not because, everyone is super supportive. But you just are going to be like working super hard, which is good. And like, you'll be so proud of yourself when you do all of that. And then just to echo one thing that Matt said, like, I think this is a little bit of a time thing too, not spinning your wheels on something for too long, like asking a friend. I mean, I would say like exchange numbers as soon as you can with people or exchange email addresses, but also reaching out to faculty. Like they know that your schedule is different from like an undergrad student. So there were times where I like emailed Chris at 11 p.m. and he like emailed me back at 11:30 p.m. Don't get stuck and waste like hours on something if you're really stumped. I think those were like a few time management things that kind of helped me, but like open to hearing what others had too.
Yeah. Maggie or Megan, do you guys want to chime in on this one?
Yeah, I'll add to that. I like to follow schedules. I find that if I follow a schedule, I feel like really successful, even if it's as simple as like put dinner in oven, something really straightforward. But I meal prepped. So I meal prepped my lunches for the week. I meal prepped my dinners for the week. And similar to what Nicole said, I liked to keep my late Friday nights and I like to keep my Saturday nights open. And so I would come home from work on Fridays. I do a couple hours of homework and then I would just chill for the rest of Friday night at 8 p.m. And then I would get up early on Saturday. I'd get my groceries delivered and I would start doing homework at like 8 or 9 in the morning. And so that way I could have my Saturday evening. And then Sunday I would study whatever I didn't finish Saturday. And so that really worked for me and I really enjoyed that. And so I didn't feel burnt out because I had my nights, I knew what I was doing. And I aligned with my family, similar to what Matt said, like my family knew, my husband knew, everyone knew when I would be locked in, knew what times I was going to be locked in. And everyone really was respectful of that and extremely supportive. So people were never guilting us for not going or me for going to things because I had school, I had class, I had homework. So really just kind of aligning. And if you're a schedule person like me, I really enjoyed having a schedule and meal prepping. That worked really, really well.
Yeah, I think most of the points been covered, but I think the one thing I'll add is find a routine that works for you. I think that's the consensus. It's going to look different based on, what you have going on with your life. It doesn't mean that you have to copy the person next to you. I think that was really important is that everyone's going to have something different that works for them. For me, I would stay up super late Friday nights and crank everything out that opened so that my weekend was completely free. And that worked for me. And that totally did not work for other people in my cohort. And right, and you're hearing different strategies. I think the big theme here is really find what works for you in that first semester. You're going to try some things. You're going to say, maybe this doesn't stick, or maybe this really works for me. And over time, you're going to get into that routine. I think being intentional about that so that when life happens, like Nicole sort of alluded to, you have a little bit of that flexibility, that you're not in a bind. I think that's really important.
Yep. Yeah. And again, I think as you guys pointed out, having the community of folks to help you out is one of the important pieces in that. Yep. Okay, let's see. The next question we have here, do you have any advice for those considering the program?
I'll chime up again. So my advice, I would say, don't wait for the perfect time. It doesn't exist. So if I had waited for my schedule to clear, for the time to be right, I would have missed out on one of the most transformative chapters of my life. Whether you graduate 4 days ago or 30 years ago, the challenges of life will always be there. So the having that capacity to grow is what you're going for. That's why you're here. That's why you're listening to it. Yeah, my first semester was a little bit of a hurdle. Integration was required a little bit of sacrifice, but you're not just signing up for a syllabus. You're looking at individuals that you're in your classroom that are your future board of directors, your business partners, or your support system. So it's that joining that community of faculty and peers who support you when this load gets really heavy. That is what you're going to have. That's what's going to be there. So don't let the fear of how prevent you from why. Trust that process. Lean on your village. Dive in. This is again a transformative process that I went through that I'll say it over and over again. I will do it this course again and again and again. So this program was fantastic.
Okay. Anybody else have advice for someone who might be considering the program?
I would say don't let imposter syndrome hold you back. I think for me, I remember being very tentative, thinking like, as I mentioned, my background was not technical in nature. I had very limited programming knowledge. And I was very nervous, to be very transparent, that I would feel out of place or that it wouldn't really be good enough or hitting the mark, so to speak, and then I could fall behind. I think what's really great about this program is that, you're going to meet people from very different backgrounds. So there were other people in my cohort that I was able to meet that, had a business background and said, I'm less familiar with, the technical aspect. And then, one of the people I worked really closely with in my program was a data engineer and had a loads of technical experience that, there's a really great balance where you can learn from people from very different backgrounds. And there's elements where, I found myself kind of having, strengths that my classmates didn't on the technical side, right? And vice versa. So I think don't let the fear, if you don't have sort of a traditional background, hold you back. I think there is room for a lot of different perspectives. And if you're willing to put in the work, there is this sort of community that builds you up, that folks have sort of referred to. And I think it's an incredible opportunity. So if you're interested in doing it, you have a passion for this sort of work and you're just nervous about it, I would say ignore the imposter syndrome voice.
Great advice. Anybody else?
I would say, just to add on to that too, talk to your family, talk to your friends. So where you may have a little bit of doubt, do I want to do this? Do I, want to do this? When you tell your friends and you're talking to your peers and you're telling somebody, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Listen to what they say. They'll tell you, you know what, you're going to be great for this. They know you probably outside of what you know yourself from that aspect. So what you think that you may not, you question about doing certain things, you may have doubt in it. Your friends don't. Those are why you have your friends around you too. So.
Anybody else?
I would just say don't be I mean, the work is hard and like it's, like I said, 30 months of like hard work. But don't let that intimidate you out of this. I think this is like an incredible opportunity as a working person to sort of like dive back in and get to really like exercise your brain and to develop into like this career that is like among the most desirable and exciting and like cutting edge things that like you could be doing right now. I think it's so worth that, that hard work, and it goes by in an instant. Like Everyone will probably tell you that who's gone through it. It looks like a huge chunk before you start. And the semesters like fly by and you learn so much. And you're like, I never knew that I had space in my brain for all of that. So I would say like, don't be intimidated and also like try to enjoy it while you're on the ride because you're with like great people. You're learning from super smart faculty. You're learning from people who are like some of your faculty are like practitioners out in the field doing this work, which is an amazing opportunity. And like, yeah, there will be late nights, there will be early mornings. You might have like a weird issue that plagues you for a couple weeks on some project. But you're gonna like get through it and it's awesome. And all of that will like serve you later in a career in data science if that's what you choose to pursue after the program. Also, a Notre Dame education is like such a gift, no matter what it's in.
And just to clarify, I think Nicole said 30 months, but it's actually 21 months.
Oh my gosh,
with the
I said
program.
that
Yeah,
twice. I'm so sorry.
no, that's
30
all right.
credits. I am so sorry. It didn't feel like 30 months. It felt like 21 months.
Yeah.
I looked at that slide too. Anyway, thanks. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any other advice you'd care to give?
I'll just chime in to add with the intimidation. When I joined the program, I had no coding experience. I came from a very like technical engineering background. I did not have a single lick of coding experience. And I told my teachers that, and I told them how nervous I was. And they scheduled one-on-one sessions with me to work through basic R code, work through basic Python. And even when I was doing Python and I realized how much I don't like coding in Python, they were a great support system. And I'd say, I don't understand why this is broken. And they would help me troubleshoot why my Python code was not running. I still don't like Python. I can run it. I can code it and I can run it and I can read it. But you know, you don't, I remember the day before the program started, I had like an, oh my God, like what have I done kind of moment. And there was no need to worry because you have such hands-on teachers and you'll also have classmates who are also willing to offer up their time. And you'll find too that you'll find classes that you're really, really great at, that's your strength, who other students are struggling. And so you guys can work together. You guys can help offset each other where their strength can help you. Like for me with Python. So, you know, you don't be intimidated. You'll find what you're good at. And if you're not good at something, be honest about it. And your teachers will spend one-on-one time with you and help you through, which I think is very unique to this program.
And just from the faculty side, you know, a lot of times students think they're bothering us, but we want to talk to you. We want to find out what your challenges are because it helps us revise our materials and make them better. We also, because of the nature of this program where we do have everybody that's a working professional, we actually learn a whole lot about, you know, what do people actually need in the workplace? So what should we be emphasizing in our materials and things like that? So it is something that very much talk to your faculty, ask them questions because we want you to. It's what we get paid for, but it's also very helpful for us to develop as well. Okay, I think we probably should switch over and because we're getting a little short on time, we should switch over and Sam, do you want to take a look at the Q&A queue and maybe bring up some of these questions that we've got that we could maybe address?
Absolutely. We have quite a few of them. The first one is, I think for you, Roger, actually. How do you approach the challenge of formalizing curriculum that is changing so rapidly? What are the criteria for success in incorporating updates?
Yeah, so it is a challenge. I won't downplay that piece of it, but it's definitely the case that like anything, you need to think about what are the fundamentals that will allow students not just to get kind of this most recent shiny thing, but kind of develop skills that allow them to adapt to new stuff. Because stuff's going to change. You know, right now we feel like we're in the middle of this AI revolution where the whole world is, you know, turning on its head, but really stuff changes all the time. And, you know, in my career, things are very different now than they were when I started. So it will always be changing. And part of what we try to do is equip students to be critical and be able to think about things and ask good questions about what the new technologies are so that they can either rapidly adopts the new stuff or say, yeah, this is not something that's going to help our bottom line. So we're going to pass on that one. Yeah. What else do we have?
So this one kind of dovetails into that. Back to fast changing technology. What continuing education are you all following? Does this program foster continuing education efforts? So I can answer one part of that, and then I'll let everyone else do that. I think it's always really helpful to hear like what blogs or podcasts or whatever people are listening to or whatnot. But I will say for the program, we do have alumni versions of all of our courses. We take out the exams and the homework. Not that you ever want to see an exam or homework after grad school again, but it allows you to see the newest version of the content each year. We update it every year, and we feel very strongly that this lifelong learning component of our program is important because data science is always changing. And I hear from alums like, hey, I have a job interview. I need to go brush up on Python because I mainly work in R or vice versa. So they go and do that. And also, as Roger and several alums here on the call tonight have said, AI is fast changing. So our curriculum will change as well. So you get that most up-to-date content every year. But that's it for me. So I'll let you all answer that. And just to remind you, what continuing education are you all following now that you're an alum?
So for me, Gen AI, right? Generative AI, coding with AI. So fuel coding or vibe coding is the other term. So I've been getting a little bit more into that from that aspect. But I'll say too, what you think is cutting edge, like, oh my gosh, I need to answer something or get a question on this. You can actually, I'll reach out to, Chris or Alan, the professors. I was even on a meeting the other week with Roger, and we were talking about single board computers where I'm running, a small AI large language model on this single board computer. They know about the new technologies. They're into it. They're always there. So it's not like it's something that, they're like, oh, I've never heard of that before. You can ask them and they'll be like, oh yeah. And I'll even say too, they've even offered to help out with other folks in the university that have had that experience or know that information, and they can help relay information back and forth. So the faculty and everything like that is always working on that latest and greatest stuff, and they're always willing to help out even afterwards from a graduate perspective. We can still email and ask questions. And I'll say too, when you email and ask questions, it'll be like, hey Matt, how's the daughter, how's the wife, how's this? They remember who we are, they know our families, so it's a really nice community too from that aspect.
Anybody else have podcasts or other things you use to kind of keep up on what's going on in the industry?
I'm a big LinkedIn reader. So not only using it for networking, that is honestly, I don't think I touched on this, but within my role, I specifically work in agentic AI, which was not a thing not that long ago. And so given that it's something that is so new and so nascent, I'm always sort of interested, not just in networking, but that is where I source a lot of the content because the textbooks for that particular field really have not caught up yet, in my opinion. And so it's been a lot of following different folks on LinkedIn, networking, understanding what folks are doing both inside and outside of big tech has been very interesting to see different applications, both from sort of a model perspective, how customers are responding to different things. So I would say, maybe that's a boring answer, but I would say that is sort of my main source.
I was just going to add on the topic of agentic AI, and I promise that like Roger and Sam didn't set me up for this, but the alumni conference is an awesome opportunity to come back to campus and meet up with other alumni and do kind of like a deep dive on a special topic. And this past summer, the alumni conference like work session was on agentic AI. Which was super cool because about 3 days after I got home from that, I transitioned to a new team that was building AI agents. So that was like really timely, really cool, an awesome opportunity to like I said, I work in finance. That's kind of my world, like 363 days a year, but like going to the alumni conference, getting to like connect with, like friends and classmates who are in all these other fields, like that exposed me to a lot of topics that hadn't gotten to me yet, in like kind of a heavily regulated industry. So that was super interesting. Would highly recommend, like, after you get through the program, that's a great way to come back and stay in touch with it and like maybe learn a cool skill or like get exposed to something that maybe hasn't gotten to your company yet.
Yeah, just to add on to that, every 2 years we have an alumni conference where we allow alumni to present what they do, as well as we bring in speakers, faculty from the university or other folks that we know that are doing cutting edge stuff to kind of talk about what they're doing. And we had a session Rafi did for us where he went in kind of a deep dive into, hey, if you want to try coding this up, here's how to do it. And people actually got to try it out. So it is something that we think is a good continuing education kind of experience. Anybody else want to add to that? Anybody else have?
I'll add in Flipboard.
Oh, what was that?
Flipboard. So it's just an app that I have that I use. It's one of those things where, everybody is out crowdsourcing, grabbing information, creating, their own channels, that type of thing. But you can search on, Python coding, you can search on machine learning, you can Gen AI, any type of technology that you want to learn, neural networks. You can go ahead and put all that in there, and then you can actually go to that board and you can just start flipping through, just looking for those, headlines or things that pop up for you to grab on, look on. So,
Yep. Excellent. Okay, Sam, do we have other questions? I know we're getting short on time.
Yeah, I'll also add that our alums started a Tidy Tuesday coding club that meets every Tuesday. It's very informal. There's like a core group of people that show up every week, but you can pop in whether you're in the program or not and kind of listen to what people have done for that Tidy Tuesday. All that information's on our website, but if ever you want to have more FaceTime with alums or kind of see what they're doing after they've graduated, we even have some current students that are there frequently. So I will just plug that. The next question, I actually think this might be extra practical for this venue, but what kind of, which I don't think it is because I get asked this question all the time, so I'm so glad that you asked this. What kind of computer processing power and technical specs are needed for keeping up with the work?
Yeah, I guess maybe I'll start off from a faculty perspective, and then maybe the alums can kind of chime in on their personal experience. One thing that I will say is that if you've got a reasonably recent PC or Mac, it'll probably be fine as long as you have enough RAM. Really, it's RAM over processor because that most of what we do is very memory intensive. So if you can, if you're looking at buying a new computer, go with as much RAM as possible, even if you get the next level down processor. I don't know if anybody else has thoughts on that, if that rings true for you all. I think everybody's just nodding along on this one.
Yeah, I'll tell Sam knows about this, but I started the program with a 2015 MacBook Pro, and it was a very older machine. It worked great. I was going on vacation, still doing schoolwork, and I didn't want to travel because it was one of those prone battery expansion ones. So I went ahead and I purchased I'm on it right now, just a simple M3 MacBook Air, and it has been phenomenal. I was able to do anything and everything that I needed to through the course. So.
And I will say to that too, and it's on our confirmed welcome site. A lot of the big retailers, Microsoft, Apple, there's some others, offer student discounts when you're looking for new technology. So definitely check that out to see what options are available to you as well.
Yep. And I think that's something that a lot of times we kind of overlook. People are thinking about, your full-time employee in a company, you're working a day job, and you feel very adult, and forget that you're also a student at the University of Notre Dame, which means you get to do all the student discounts and all that kind of stuff. So you get that $2 movie night or whatever at the theater, and football tickets. I will point out that if you're in the program, you are a graduate student at Notre Dame, and graduate students at Notre Dame get access to football tickets. So you do get to come back, and we've had actually many students come and specifically, set aside time to come to games. So that's something that I think it's a little known advantage of being in the program. But anyway, so we are down to the last moment. I do want to take a moment to thank our alums who are willing to be here tonight and answer your questions. I know that as soon as we get off of this call, the folks in the audience are probably going to have additional questions they'd like to ask about. So I do want to point out that you're welcome to reach out to us. We are more than happy to answer your questions in whatever form you'd like to throw at us. You are welcome to text us. The number here on the screen. You're welcome to email us. There's a lot of information on the website, but if you don't find something there, reach out to us. You can also find us on LinkedIn and Instagram in there as well. But again, you will probably think, oh, I should have asked that as soon as we get off the call. But I do want to point out that we are here to answer your questions. And if there's anything that or if you'd like to be connected with some of our alums individually, we are more than happy to do that as well. With that, Sam, am I forgetting anything before we wrap up?
I'll just say that our last deadline for the fall 2026 start is May 3rd. So it seems like it's far away, but I think it will get here pretty quickly. So as you're working on your materials, Roger's done a video online about how to strengthen your application. But just to echo what he said, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, to me, to Courtney, to Roger. We're happy to connect you with alums, like Roger said, and also kind of work through that with you. We know that applying to grad school is a big decision. It's daunting, but we're really excited you're interested in this program, and we're happy to help you with your application and answer any questions you have. So thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I'll pass it back to Roger.
Yeah, and just to second what Sam said, I am more than happy to talk to everyone who is thinking about this program. I know that I talked to several of the folks that are on the call tonight before they were actually in the program. It is something where it is very quick for me to answer questions you might have and to help you, figure out how to put your materials together or frame things like that. And Courtney, who's on the call tonight, can help you with the actual technical side of the application and things along those lines. So we are here to help you. Don't feel like that we don't want to talk to you, because we do. With that, thanks again to all of our alums, and go Irish.